Overtime.
And welcome back to Overtime, your sports chat show here as part of our 5:31 show, Pacific Grandstand. I'm Willie Poaching.
I'm Matt Manukor.
And we'll be your presenters today. Up on the show this afternoon, today we are talking the All Blacks and their fantastic match in America against Fiji. A big signing for Moana that sent significant waves through Super Rugby and the world of rugby, in fact. We have a chat about some NRLW that's starting this week. And, of course, the Olympics are just around the corner. Matty, how's your week been? How you been? A busy week, eh? Informative week.
Really busy week. The Olympics are cracking on. We got the news in the weekend that the big signing, Moana Pasifika, Ardie Savea would sign. So I was cracking on in the newsroom, getting articles out and making calls to make sure that we were across it. Obviously, we went over to the presser early in the week, and that was really good too. But yeah, it's been quite a busy week. Olympics week kicks off this Saturday, so there's a lot going on in the world of sports. Yeah, how you been, bro?
Yeah, good, busy. Obviously, do a little bit of coaching locally in the league scene.
Nice, yeah.
Our team's got one more game this week. Yeah. We've had a pretty up and down, tough season, but really proud of how the boys have gone at Marist. And we slog it out one more time this weekend against Papakura, and then the Fox Memorial competition turns into the playoffs and the top six. Unfortunately, we won't be there, and it consumes your time. You know, it's been a big investment of time for all coaches in the competition. And that comes to an end this week, so I know what to do with myself next week. Got a bit of time on my hands, but yeah, busy week, scrolling through the sport, watching sport, getting excited. There's been so much this week. There's been Formula One. The British Open golf was on as well that I got stuck into. So we'll kick the show off. We'll talk about the All Blacks. Third time in America.
Wow.
Obviously played Ireland and the US both in Chicago, but they took this game on the weekend to San Diego.
Beautiful.
Sunny San Diego.
Beautiful.
To take on the might of the Flying Fijians. They played a tough series against England, and we spoke about that. And there were a few in the squad, in the wider squad, that didn't get an opportunity against England. Scott Robinson decided to give some of the rookies and some of the guys that hadn't had any game time, like Ethan Blackadder and Caleb Clark, those types of players who were in the squad deserved to be around the main team, but they need some game time. So they got an opportunity on the weekend, along with, as I said, the rookies in the squad who've been waiting, sitting, biding their time and waiting to prove to the coach that they're worthy of being in that All Black environment. Yeah. What were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, huge game, huge opportunity for both sides to head over to San Diego. I was reading a couple articles that it was, near a sold-out arena. A lot of diehard rugby fans over there, a lot of expats over there as well. A lot of Pacific Islanders who live in in that area who went down, and seen heaps of videos online of some of these like Samoan Tongan people that hear about the All Blacks over in America because of all the famous Pacific athletes that have been a part of the All Blacks in history, and they're heading over to the game and watching it. How good is it also to see both of our Fijian brothers get to have a run over there too. So it was just a great outing for the All Blacks. They looked too strong in the end, 47 points to 5, and I think the inclusions that they made in some of those key positions, namely Caleb Clark at the wing, was really outstanding. Cortez Ratima at the number 9 was really good. He looked really quick around the ruck and was able to get a lot of good looks when he had the ball in hand. But I think, it was a great game of rugby, and regardless of the result what came out of that game, I think it was just great to see two of our teams that we support as Pacific Islanders, go head to head in San Diego.
Yeah, I thought about this. Reading about the game afterwards and some of people's reviews saying that the All Blacks were a bit scratchy and they weren't as convincing. It was still a dominant performance. I thought it was still a dominant performance, and I thought the rookies went really well. I thought Noah Hotham, who came on at half, or Cortez Ratima, who unfortunately got injured just before half time, I thought Hotham really took his opportunity, and he was a real bright spark for the All Blacks and really put his hand up to be in that environment. He got this opportunity through TJ been injured
Yep.
and not being able to be part of the squad at the moment. But he's really put his hand up for an opportunity during the championship coming up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting one. The All Blacks going abroad, going to America, a huge market and a growing market for rugby union. The Major League Rugby is growing, and there's some big investors wanting to get involved in the game. And I think taking the All Blacks and the All Black product to them on their front doorstep allows that for the game to grow. You spoke about the big Pacific Island community in America, and there is, and I've got family that are 2 generations deep in America. So the second generation, they're Americans and know nothing about rugby, but they know the All Blacks. They know of the name of the All Blacks. You know what I mean? And there's a mystique about them for people that have never seen them before, and that was part of the attraction, I gather, for a lot of the crowd going.
Yeah.
Here's this team that we've heard about. And I saw Todd Gurley, former Rookie of the Year, former running back for the LA Rams. He came out and he wore his All Black jersey, talking about the All Blacks and that mystique that I'm talking about, but also his passion for them as far as being this team. And these were his words: they never lose, man. They never lose.
Wow.
And so he was at the game, he was around the team, and you're attracting big name athletes as well. Such as that aura that they have and the hype of their brand. The All Blacks are global. They are, and they're proving that. So if they've done it to help the American game grow and to get a foothold for the game of rugby union in America, I think it was a fantastic move.
Yeah.
But I would like, at some stage, to see them, we spoke about this before, play some games in Fiji, play Fiji in Fiji, or they've played Samoa, but we spoke about our Pacific nations needing some games against the Tier 1 teams in the islands.
Yeah.
You sacrifice a bit of money, but it's a reward for the passionate fans in the country.
Yeah,
Who
definitely.
can't afford to go to America.
Yeah, of course, man. And America's on the other side of the world compared to where Fiji was. If Fijian fans wanted to head over there to watch their favorite teams go to head, and maybe there was an odd few Fijian fans who made the trip over from Fiji to go watch the Flying Fijians take part against one of the best teams in the world and best teams in history with the All Blacks. But I completely agree with you that maybe more games should be played over in the islands. I see what they're doing right now. Like you talked about the product of the All Blacks and the mystique of the All Blacks, and taking that in different places around the world, sprinkling a little bit of Aotearoa magic around the world. And I assume that a lot of the fans who were there would have experienced the haka for the first time, a proper haka, not the ones that
A war dance face-off.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, a war dance face-off. Ardie Savea with the mana that he did to lead his first ever haka, seeing one of the Brown brothers do that in front of a crowd, thousands of miles away from home, I thought that was really special for him. And just to help emphasize the moment, America does a great job at making a spectacle out of sports events, and we saw that, and I read about that at the game. There was huge lines that going into All Black merchandise stores and people wanting to see the All Blacks. So it all adds to that mystique about the All Blacks. So definitely it'll be a huge sacrifice, but a necessary sacrifice, I think, to take those games if we were to play Fiji over back to the islands.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I think it was an exercise, it was a success.
Yeah.
It was a big win. The All Blacks played well. The Fijians, who had their challenges in the lead-up trying to get visas for their players coming from Georgia after their test over there, got them over the line. They got into San Diego and were competitive.
Yeah.
So as an exercise in trying to put a test match on in America and as an exhibition game, I suppose, but still a test match, I thought it was a great exercise.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying going forward, if the powers could think about sacrificing a little bit of that cash flow. And I know everybody needs the money and the game needs it to grow. But what I'm thinking about is our fans that don't have that cash to be able to afford to see our teams perform against the big guns live in front of them?
Yeah.
Can we put it on? I remember Samoa playing the All Blacks
Yeah, bro, that was
in
massive.
Samoa
Yeah.
a while ago, but the crowd was crazy. You know, they don't get that enough. They're starved of it. So if we can just do that, and it doesn't have to be the All Blacks. If it can be Australia, if it can be England, if it can be South Africa, one of those top tier 1 nations, to go there every 3 or 4 years, just to give our young ones an opportunity to watch.
Yeah, definitely, man. Just to give back. I think I reflect on that Samoa All Blacks game. I remember that game and just seeing the haka and the sivatau going at it against each other. You could hear the deafening crowd, get behind both the All Blacks and Manu Samoa at that time. And it was just something special, something unique that Pacific people and Pacific people have contributed so much to rugby that, maybe it is time to sacrifice some of that cash flow, like you said, and take one of these games ever so often over to the islands.
Back to the game. Going off a little bit there, but standouts for you? Any standouts in the game?
I think Caleb Clark did really well. I think if he can secure that 11 jersey come rugby championship, I think he's going to be one of those attacking threats that when he's in open space or when he's one-on-one, we saw how quick he was, and we talked about it all year about how much he's improved his game in the way that, he looks fitter, faster, and stronger, and he broke some of those tackles from the Fijians. That's hard to break, those Fijians are really strong when it comes to defending, and he was able to make it look a little bit easy when he went in for his runs and when he scored that try. So I think he was one of the standouts for me. One of the standouts for me in the Fijian team. It was great to see him, Semi Raja. He was in the news all week about both from the All Blacks camp and from fans alike, and it was just good to see him run out there, with
set
the
up the
Fijian
try.
brothers. Yeah, set up the try on that left edge, and I think he was already a danger when he played for the Parramatta Eels back in the day, now it's good to see him get out there with the Fijian brothers. He can't play off the drua at the moment, but just to see him back in the Fijian colours was great.
Yeah, it's great to see our teams get the best players possible.
Yeah.
There's some restrictions on them, especially the ones that play in France. They've got restrictions from their clubs on their availability for the countries. But when they are able to play, when they are able to put on their jerseys, they never let them down. And that's what Semi Radradra has done. You spoke about Parramatta, and he did the same. He was dangerous when he went to Toulon, just as dangerous when he went to Bristol.
Yep.
And he's still flying the flag and flying it well to this day. Back to Caleb Clark a little bit.
Yep.
It seems like there's a 3-way fight for the wings.
Yep.
Mark Telea, Severis, and Caleb Clark. Yeah. If Caleb Clark is to break his way in, who does he replace?
Oh, that's a good question. I think he'd replace Telea for me. I think. Actually, man, it's because Telea sometimes on the defensive end, he's known to miss some of those key tackles and will make some reads that result in tries from the other side or breaks. So I'd say Caleb Clark, at times he can be a lot more defensively sound, especially on that edge. So I'd say Telea.
Yeah, I probably look at that's the way that Scott Robinson's thinking.
Yeah.
He played Caleb Clark on the left wing, which is where Telea's been playing for the All Blacks. For the Blues, it's usually Clark on the left and Telea on the right.
Yeah.
He kept Severis on that right-hand side. So I'm just trying to, and possibly overreading things here a little bit, that's where he's thinking. If he's going to play Caleb Clark, you're going to be on the left.
Yeah.
But I go back to what our earlier predictions for the All Black squads were. I think they moved Telea to the right to get Caleb Clark in and give Severis a rest. But from what you've seen from the All Blacks so far this year, taking into mind that Sam Cane may be back.
Yeah, I saw
and
that,
Will Jordan could be back for the championship.
Yeah.
Do they win the championship?
Oh, that's a great question, man. I think I think they do. I think they still come at the end of the year. I think these games are definitely some of those ones that get some of the rust out after Super Rugby season and getting some of those combinations and adjusting to the new coaching style of Scott Robertson and coming together as a team that come towards the end of the year and these next couple of tests against Argentina and come Rugby Championship time that it's going to be highly contested. But yeah, I think because South Africa have been doing well as well when they had their 2 tests against Ireland, they dropped one, but they won one as well. So yeah, it's going to be interesting when they come up against each other because that'll be the big game to watch come Rugby Championship time between those 2 sides. But yeah, I think the All Blacks will get it right towards the end of the year.
Yeah, excited. Start with the Rugby Championship and then move to what the Northern Hemisphere call the autumn tours to finish off the year. A big, exciting year for the All Blacks. Got off to a great start. 3-0 so far for Razor.
Yep.
And they get a couple of weeks off before they face Argentina to start off the championship. So we move on and sticking with rugby union. Some of the biggest news for a long, long time.
Wow.
And a significant piece of news for more than one reason. The acquisition for the Moana Pasifika and signing Ardie Savea for the next 3 years. He's committed to New Zealand Rugby Union, but he's decided to leave the Hurricanes and move to play Super Rugby for Moana. How big is that? How important is that for our Pacific community, for the franchise?
It's huge. It's game changing. It's world breaking. It's everything that a Pacific rugby fan, have been hoping and dreaming for. For so long that one of these players, regardless of their stature, or where they play in the All Blacks or the Wallabies or some of those Tier 1 nations, to have one of our own come back and choose us in any form, whether that be through Manu Samoa, Kaletahi, the Fijian team as well. For any of them to want to choose us ahead of Tier 1 teams or in this case Super Rugby, one of the top Super Rugby teams, is huge and it's massive. And for him to make the decision to come back from Japan after the Rugby World Cup last year, he was with the Hurricanes too last year. He spent some time with the Kobe Steelers over in Japan. Coming back to Super Rugby, I'd assume that he'd want to prove a lot, after the Rugby World Cup, especially losing that in the final, and for him to choose Moana Pasifika, it's unique. It's a bit emotional as well because, like I mentioned before, we've been singing this tale for so long to attract some of our Pacific teams, and Moana Pasifika since their establishment has been for the development of our Pacific players, our Pacific international teams, but to champion our Pacific people in this rugby space and across rugby because they've got their hands in other sports as well, Moana Pasifika. But it was created to champion our work and our dedication to Moana Pasifika, and for Ardie Savea, the best player in the world, to choose Moana at this point in his career, it's outstanding news. And I think it'll only do good things for Moana Pasifika as a club. We spoke about this. We spoke about this last week, bro. And the prospect of him when the news was still in the midst and what it'd mean. But it'll really encourage Moana Pasifika as an organisation, from the front to the back, to lift their shoulders, to lift their standards and lift, all the things that have been going wrong for them behind the scenes, and allow them to put in some good systems and maybe get some more better players around him or help develop the players around him that we have in the current Moana Pasifika squad too. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack with Ardie's signing, but I think that it's the perfect move for him and the club at this time. Your thoughts, Will?
Yeah, I think it's significant for so many reasons. I think for Moana Pasifika to have the ability, a small team, a small franchise, a developing franchise, still in its infancy, to be able to attract a player who is still currently the World Player of the Year is huge. That if they're able to do that and other players see that the best player in our game is willing to go and play for that franchise, I could too. then it might be worth me going over. So what it says to others is, hey, this might be okay. They're struggling, but we can affect the change. He wants to help affect change. He wants to help them improve.
Yeah.
I might be part of this journey because everybody wants to be part of that. It's easy joining a successful group. But the challenge of being able to be part of and help a franchise go from here to there, to the top, and be part of that growth and have a big part to play in it is huge. Yeah. That's a huge challenge that I think every professional sports person worth their grain of salt will put their hand up for. So he's saying it's okay to do that. And Sir Michael Jones, who was part of the press conference, said some very poignant things. And, you know, it's such a brave decision on Ardie's behalf.
Huge.
To walk away from being comfortable in Wellington, where he's grown up, where everything he knows is there. The franchise is there that he knows. He knows it inside out. He could have been comfortable. He's gone way out of his comfort zone to move away from town, move away from home, restart again.
Yep.
He's coming to a brand new franchise that's developing, that's struggled the last couple of years.
Yep.
And, you know, some of the words that he said about his passion, his family and what it means to them. He might never play for Samoa, but that passion burns within him to want to represent his mum and dad, his grandparents, and he spoke about that. And this is probably as close as he gets to it.
Yeah.
Pulling on the Moana Pasifika jersey. So there's significance there for him as well. But for the franchise off the field, their ability now to go and attract some revenue and some sponsorship and attract supporters. We go back to the game this year when I think it was the Chiefs, they played it on Cultural Weekend at Mount Smart.
Yep.
Nobody was there. Nobody was there. And everybody's asking, how do they get a crowd? He'll go a long way to helping them get that crowd.
Definitely, man.
If he can turn their fortunes around and they can get a win and start to string a few together, he'll more than help them get some fans through the door. What they've got to come to the party with is find a home ground now.
Yeah.
They've got to find a home ground. But if they've got a team that's successful, I'm sure people will say, hey, please come and play here.
Yeah.
Come and play here. We want you to play here because you're bringing a crowd and we love your crowd. We want our stadium busy.
Yeah.
And that if that's North Harbour, then it's North Harbour. But yeah, it's so significant in so many different ways. And I love the fact that the press conference that we went to the other day was by his choosing, in his way to announce it on his terms to the Pacific media. But he also invited a couple of schools to come along. And there's some school children there, some aspiring journalists who, they were nervous. It was their first time in that environment at a press conference, speaking to someone who's of the stature of Ardie Savea sitting there. Now you look at that top table.
Bro, there was three of the best.
Umanga, Michael Jones, Ardie Savea, three of the greatest All Blacks, greatest rugby union players of all time sitting there. And, it could have been daunting for some of those young aspiring journalists and school children, but it was great that Ardie and Moana Pasifika invited them along. It was a beautiful room to sit in and a wonderful space to be a part of, but that's where he is. He wants to champion our communities. He wants to champion the future. And by him being here and being here for 3 years, he's going to inspire the next generation to come through as well. Yeah. He's inspiring off the field already by doing what he did, but he'll inspire the next lot and the next crop to come through on the field as well.
Yeah. I think it was a beautiful gesture from him on Monday when I think it was Sir Michael Jones mentioned that it was at his request that he wanted particularly only Pacific media journalists and outlets to come and cover his first ever press conference as a Moana Pasifika player since his signing. And that's huge for him. He landed at 7 a.m. that morning, bro, from America after the San Diego test with Fiji. He came over and he, probably spent the day just unwinding, and then he came and delivered, gave us 1 full hour for Pacific Media and for those students as well, who were very brave to ask their questions and have the opportunity. They were encouraged by Sir Michael Jones to take the opportunity up, and which is, I spoke about it with some of our colleagues, bro, that for these young kids and for our young Pasifika, especially in this media space and in the sporting realm, one of the kids came up to us and he mentioned it as well. He didn't really ask a question. He made a comment. He said that it was unreal to be in the presence of Ardie Savea. He's one of the idols, his idols, and he didn't realize that being a journalist can afford you those opportunities. But for our young Pasifika players, our young Pasifika people, I feel like if, seeing these athletes, and because of we hold these athletes in such high regard in our society and our amongst our people, that the only way our young boys and girls feel like they can reach these guys is if they play with them, if they make a career out of sports or professionalism, and they can mix and mingle with them, and they can meet them like that and have a relationship like that. Otherwise, regardless of that, they'll just have to stick to being, stick to seeing them from the outside. But with this opportunity that Ardie afforded them to come in and to see him firsthand and ask him questions directly, he went back and talked to them. That'll be huge for them to open their eyes to see that there's more opportunities which are out there to, help champion our people, which is what Ardie Savea is doing right now. Everyone is singing his praise across, social media, across media. Everyone is praising him as, because what he's doing is encouraging our people to stand up, to take over the space, and to really, uplift each other, especially when people are doing well and especially when people are in development. And I think that's what his signing is really doing for our communities. And will really do for the Moana Pasifika squad as well. They've got a lot of young players. They've got a lot of inexperienced players, but they've got some veterans in that team as well. But I think him walking into the sheds, along with his brother Julian Savea, who already did that this year, will really encourage them to lift their game. And I expect them to string together a lot more wins next year.
He's definitely walking the talk. He spoke about wanting to be a leader through actions, and let his actions do his talking for him, and that's definitely what he's doing. He's living what he's preaching through his actions by inviting those young people, inspiring the next generation.
Yeah.
Do you envisage more big names following him?
I think so. I believe so, actually. We heard Whaalonga Tanumanga talk about it, that they were contacting people before about trying to attract them to the team. They said not right now, they don't want to come, but now they're getting those calls back. Now there are people wanting to come and take this team a bit more seriously in terms of being a team that they want to sign for. Now, Moana Pasifika obviously doesn't have the best track record in Super Rugby over their past 2-3 seasons, but for this signing alone, I think it'll attract a flow-on effect to attract some of these bigger names. Now, we spoke about it, and it's been all over the media, and even Whaalonga talked about it as well. The Jason Taumalolo effect. Back in 2017, Jason Taumalolo, the best rugby league player in the world at that time, pledged his allegiance to Mate Matonga ahead of the Rugby League World Cup. Andrew Fafita as well, State of Origin winner. He was an NRL championship winner in 2016. He put his hand up too. So those two guys alone opened the doors for several stars that have represented those Tier 1 nations to come in and support their team and play for Tonga, which is now one of the Tier 1 nations in rugby league. So now I think what that'll do for, in this case, this is the rugby union version of that, where he's going to invite and entice other Pacific, big names to come and play for Moana Pasifika. Maybe they're tied to some of those bigger contracts, or they have to play for All Blacks or Wallabies or anywhere else in the world. But for them to represent Moana Pasifika, it'll be one of those moves that will bring them closer to.
And just while we're on that, there is a restriction on how many All Blacks they're allowed to play, isn't there?
There's three?
Three, I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, only 3. So
current All Blacks.
Yeah.
But there's nothing stopping them from signing the likes of Malakai Fekitoa.
Yep.
Or Limo Sopuanga.
Yeah.
Those types of players that have played for All Blacks but now represent for our Pacific Islands, understanding that they earn their money abroad, they're in Europe and in some making a good living.
Yeah.
But because they're not All Blacks now, they can attract them, and there's nothing stopping Moana now with the carrot of having Ardie Savea in your locker room from attracting those types of players. And I've no doubt that what Whalong was saying, that there'll be agents and players ringing on the back of this news.
I'm excited,
to join
man.
them. Yeah, I'm really excited
to see
for
who they pick up.
what the future holds. I think we've got to have some patience. And whilst Ardie's there for 3 years, I don't think in year one they're going to hit their straps fully.
Yeah.
I hope they improve to the point, because they were just knocking on the door this year. With a couple of weeks ago, they were still in the fight to make the playoffs. And if they can make the playoffs next season, that's a huge step. That's a huge step, and that's from last year to this year to next year. That's a good gradient of progress for Whalongo Tanuamanga and his team. And if they do that, then on the back of what we're saying, they'll get even more bigger names going forward again. So we just got to hold some patience. There is a couple of years. We can't expect Ardie to be the all-in saviour. And this is more about just immediate rugby success on the field. He wants success off the field too. And I think that could be the longer-lasting legacy that he leaves. But I think we'll look back on this moment, this signing, as a huge moment, not only for Moana Pasifika, but also for the game of rugby, and showing that bravery to make decisions and follow your heart and not just your wallet. So congratulations, Ardie. Welcome to Tamaki Makaurau. Welcome to Moana Pasifika. We look forward to getting out there and cheering you on and cheering the team on again next season. Moving across to Rugby League, and this week is the start of NRLW.
Exciting, man.
We've been waiting a long time for this. It's a 10-team competition, 9 games, 9 rounds, regular rounds before a playoff system. We've already had the Women's Origin for this season.
Good
Cracking
games, man.
series. First time there's been a 3-match series. It went down to a decider. That unlike the men, unfortunately, the women from Queensland got it done, winning up in Townsville. But some of the football from some of the girls, particularly in Game 2 in Newcastle when it was driving rain, pouring down, the skill level was outstanding. Was outstanding from some of them. The athleticism that they played with in Game 3, and some of the power and just their football nous is outstanding. It's come a long way in the short space of time that the NRLW has been around. And I've said it before, but the NRL need to be praised for how they've slowly developed the NRLW. They started with 4 teams. They built it slowly. And they understood that at the time of beginning this competition, they didn't have the quality of players and numbers for every team to cater for. And Melbourne, in particular, I remember reading about them saying, we're not going to enter a team into the NRLW until we feel like we can be sustainable and we can be competitive. But then we're getting to that point now. There's so many girls in Australia, but also from New Zealand being signed and taken across to Australian clubs at young ages, 15, 16, young, talented girls. And they are just that. They're talented, skillful, fast, fit, strong. And I'm excited to see what NRLW 24 can bring, kicking off on Thursday night between the current champions, the Knights against the Roosters tonight. Thursday night, apologies.
Thursday. No, it's exciting, man. The female brand of rugby league, and ever since I've watched NRLW, has been great, man. From the test matches to the NRLW matches, they're great to watch, because I feel like it's just straight footy. It's all ball. It's all run, big hits. Some plays mixed in there. The game's free flowing, and it's easy to watch. It's enjoyable to watch as well. Just see the girls go out there and give it their all. And I think that you're right. How the NRL has developed the NRLW into what it is, it's been great, slowly building and including a lot more of our women into these different teams, and these franchises are helping introduce them to the systems and to bring them in and to sign them from both New Zealand and Australia, allowing them to be around the club and get some time together too, because I know for Auckland Rugby League over in Auckland, there's some teams in the women's competition. So just to afford them a opportunity to go professional and to play at the big stage is huge. It's huge for the game and it's huge for the development. I feel like, right from for our young Pasifika and girls as well, just thinking about them, they've got the Pacific Youth Cup that happens in Auckland, that the different rugby league associations from all the Pacific Island here in Auckland have done a great job in terms of developing our young girls over here. In that stage where they're putting in the groundwork to want to be a professional rugby league player, because I feel like it's becoming more of a viable option as a sporting venture for our young girls. So it's seeing them on the big stage will only encourage them more to want to, become like some of those players. You think of the likes of Niall Williams-Guthrie, who was a Black Ferns Sevens legend, played for the Black Ferns as well, and then she went over to the Gold Coast Titans to play for the NRLW. And Caitlin Vahakolo as well, she's played for the Blues, won a championship with the Blues. She's won a World Cup with the Black Ferns, and she had a time playing with the Newcastle Knights women's, and she's played for the Kiwi Ferns as well for the NRLW, for the women's competition over there. So she's done it all, and these players are key examples of how much opportunity there is for our women in the game.
And I don't think they're too far off. I remember speaking to an NRLW coach a couple of years ago about his squad of players, and my question to him was, did they have any full-time players?
Yeah.
Did they have anybody who was full-time? And this was a year and a half ago. His answer to me was, they have probably two who could be full-time, but they decide to work because everybody else is part-time, and they earn a living and they have a life away from footy because they have the time to. But I think they're 2 years away from everyone being full-time. And I think that's a pretty significant wage from the NRL.
Yeah.
And rightly so. It's a great product that's getting a great following. I go back to Origin. All three Origins were sold out.
Man, that's awesome.
So the product is being swallowed up by the fans. Yep. They love it. They love what they're delivering, and they're paying for it through TV, and they're paying through it through coming to games. And it's great that the girls are going to see some of that coming back to them. But going back to what you're saying, with some of the young girls that are playing, they're seeing that. They know that. There's an opportunity for them to make a living just like the boys do, and the boys have done, through playing their passion, through playing the game that they all love to play.
Yeah.
And they're getting better and better at it because of some of those young women seeing the opportunities that are going to be afforded to them and dedicating themselves to the point where they're becoming elite. Some of these girls in their fitness scores and some of their fitness numbers and their skill ability that I spoke about, they're reaching some elite levels. And last year, I spoke about this quite openly. Tamika Upton, at the back end of the season, she won the grand final for the Knights.
Yep.
And she was outstanding for Australia. She won everything going individually. She was, for mine, the best rugby league player in the world last year. Wow. Men or women. Man. She was unplayable. That's how good the women are becoming.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that she'd beat a man if she played. For what she was doing on the field, the way she was reading the games, her chip and chase, regather, pass play, beating defenders, she was seeing things that some of the men weren't, and playing outstanding. So, yeah, the product is fantastic, and I'm really excited to see it get underway
Yeah.
And on Thursday night, it gets started, as I said, with the Knights against the Roosters. That's at 9:45. And then on Saturday, the Sharks are at home to the Cowboys. The Broncos, who will be challenging, and they're thereabouts, they take on the Parramatta Eels. And then on Sunday, the Dragons at 2 o'clock play the Gold Coast. Nice. That's a curtain raiser to the NRL game. And the West Tigers, they take on Canberra on Sunday at 3:45. So all gets underway.
Exciting,
it'll be a flying start for them. Really excited for round one to get underway and for things to take shape. Big pressure on the Roosters. They've been there or thereabouts the last couple of seasons, only to be knocked out just before the grand final. They invest a lot, as a lot of these teams do now. So we'll see if Newcastle, who have gone back-to-back, can go back-to-back-to-back again. Starting on Saturday morning, 5:30, as this goes to air on our radio show, this will be already underway. The opening ceremony of the Olympics in Paris, the 33rd Games of the Olympiad get underway. It actually started on tomorrow, Thursday, with the sevens that gets underway. And then archery and handball, I think, get underway on Friday. So there's always a couple of sports that get underway before the opening ceremony, but the big one is the opening ceremony. The teams get to walk out in front, the dignitaries, the eyes of the world. The biggest sporting event in the world. Only happens every 4 years. Gets underway Saturday. See some amazing people walk out. LeBron James is one of the male flag bearers for the US team. 39 years old. The man's still killing it.
Good on him, man.
But some superstars walking out. How excited are you for this year's Olympics?
Hugely excited, man. It's like you said, it comes around every 4 years. It's like a World Cup, when Rugby World Cup, FIFA World Cup, Rugby League World Cup, Netball World Cup, all those World Cups that come around ever so often. And this is the biggest sporting event, in history. It's the biggest sporting event that comes around. And I'm really excited. I'm really amped, for the opportunity for our athletes to go over, both from New Zealand, but also from the Pacific. Now, we've had a few Olympians on our show. We've had your niece, Kaya Brown, who's representing Samoa in the 50-meter freestyle, I believe. We had David Liti, who came on the Pacific Grandstand show and interviewed him. We've had Ato Ploziski, Fongali, Fongali, who's a boxer for Samoa as well. So there's a lot to look forward to for this upcoming Olympics. Samoa and Australia get things underway for the rugby sevens, so that's going to be huge. Samoa have been great for the sevens over the past, since the last World Cup. And speaking of the last Olympics, and speaking of the last Olympic, it was in 2020, right in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. So it's a lot different now. It's a lot changed. It's over in Paris, the city of love, as people call it. And there's a lot of buzz going around. And it's just a great opportunity for our Pacific athletes. And I'll come back to them because there'll be 9 Pacific countries represented over at the Olympics. And that's a testament to all of their hard work over the Pacific Games, the Oceania Championships, and all the several other competitions that these athletes have been participating in from our little corner in the South Pacific, for them to produce an opportunity, or to have an opportunity to go on the world stage and compete in the sport that they're experts in. I think it's a great chance to grow our athletes in a big way.
And through some of those discussions and chats that we had with those athletes that are going, we got a picture of what their preparation was like. We got an idea of the level of dedication that they've invested, to get themselves to this position and get selected for the games, but also in preparation for the games. It all becomes real now. And most of the athletes are there. They're in the village, settling in for their games to get underway. As I said, the sevens are there now. They get underway in a couple of days' time. And as this goes to voice on Saturday morning on our show, we'll have some results of some of those sevens. But how excited are you that for these guys, how excited will they be to be able to put it into practice now? Everything that they've planned, their training regimes that they've been meticulous about, the dedication they've shown, this is their time to shine now. It all comes.
Yeah, that's definitely like what you said. It's their time to shine now. And I've done a lot of stories about the Pacific athletes that are heading over. Some of them 15, 16, 17-year-olds, young athletes. And for them to get the nod and go over to the world's biggest sporting event, I think it's going to be huge. Just getting there, being in the Olympic Village with other world-class athletes. I imagine they walk around and you see each other, and maybe in the food court, and you see these athletes that you see on TV, or you see idolizing maybe there's some of your competitors as well. So all those things come into play when you go to the Olympics. That it's the grandest stage, and they'll definitely reflect on all their hard work from their different, wherever they're from around the world, and what it took for them to get for the lead up into the Olympics and to qualify for the Olympics. They're carrying their nations, they're carrying the hopes and dreams of their families, their parents, their grandparents, and all their loved ones and their country into these Olympic Games. So there's a lot to play for, a lot to compete for, but yeah, I think it's just a beautiful celebration of sports. And yeah, it's been a lot. There's been a lot of content online on TikTok, Instagram about some of these teams who have landed in Paris and they're being welcomed in. I seen a video of the All Black Sevens the Olympic team, New Zealand Olympic team who just landed, and they've been gifted some greenstone pounamu necklaces, cases, and they did a haka as well, and a song too. And I seen in the Olympic Village some of the Fijian boys that they're of Team Fiji. They're singing a hymn, and someone's videoing outside of the Olympic Village, and you can hear the Fijian sing over there. So it's a beautiful spectacle. It's a beautiful event, and looking forward to seeing these results unfold. And saying that, our Olympic coverage at PMN is proudly sponsored by the Pasifika Medical Association. So we have someone on the ground, James Nokise, who is in Paris at the moment, and he'll be providing us the best content and we'll be hearing directly from him from Paris throughout the month of the Olympics, and you can hear more about what he's been up to on our Pacific Grandstand show on Saturday too. So yeah, big thanks to the Pasifika Medical Association for sponsoring that, and we look forward to hearing from James on the ground.
For sure, and we'll be crossing to James approximately 8:30 on a Saturday morning over the next 3 weeks. And here on Overtime, we'll be giving you some of the updates of the week that's been over in Paris, and giving you some updates in particular about our Pacific athletes and how they're all going in a variety of sports, from weightlifting to boxing, athletics, weightlifting, all sorts.
Right, I've got a question for you. If you're in the Olympics, what sport do you think you'd qualify for, and then what sport do you think you'd win a gold medal at?
I probably wanted to go to the Olympics as a young fella.
Me.
If I was going to go, probably something like shot put.
Nice.
I did a bit of athletics as a young fella, but now looking back, if I had my time again, I'd probably go for breakdancing, bro.
Oh, wow. I thought you said skateboarding, bro.
No. Yourself?
I'd go for long jump. I used to enjoy long jump back in athletics when I was 10 years old. Maybe long jump. I know it's a lot different, but yeah, it's any of those track and field events.
There's so many events at the Olympics, and this is what attracts you. There's so much TV going on over the next couple of weeks to get excited about. It's amazing how you get attracted to some of the random sports.
Yeah, man.
Table tennis, handball, things you never ever watch.
Yeah.
You become glued to. You watch it for an hour, and then you start to understand the rules and start picking countries and players that you like. And yeah, that's the attraction for me of the Olympics and how big it can be. So enjoy your week coming up of sport. Enjoy your week ahead. Enjoy the Olympics and all the coverage. That brings us to an end of this week's Overtime. Thank you for watching. Matty, where can they watch and where can they enjoy our show?
You can enjoy our show on our YouTube, 531PI YouTube channel, as well as Spotify, Overtime Podcast. And we've actually got social media accounts as well, where you can see the snippets and a little bit about Willie and I as we go through our week. You can find that on Overtime.Pacific Grandstand at Instagram and Overtime.531 on TikTok. So yeah, you can find us on there. Thanks again. And also, just to mention, We have a beautiful segment that's coming up with our guy Aaron Ryan, who has been doing some great things as well that we'll mix into the podcast. And Aaron's been doing some great work, so we'll get him on the show and introduce you properly to him. But yeah, that was just one more mention.
No, that's right. We've got a man on the street.
Yeah.
Who's going to be bringing you some stories and taking up some challenges.
Yeah.
So stay glued. That's us here from Overtime with Matty. I'm Willie Poacher and this is Matt Manukau. Thank you for watching. Have a blessed week.